Good morning, Bears. It is a wonderful Monday morning, a wonderful snowy Monday morning, back with you here on the Big Drum Bear Podcast. What a wonderful day it is. Hey there. Last Movement is in the house so far that we see, and I'm sure there's plenty of others out there in Bearland. On Journey is here. Welcome. Welcome to people. I didn't post a link in the Hangouts or anything like that, so whoever got notifications and decided they wanted to show up, that's cool. If you feel like sharing the show with anybody, I'm always happy to do that. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. It's always a good thing, and those likes they're always appreciated. It helps things grow in the algorithms, and perhaps we grow with a bigger audience and more things can be done. The grand scheme of things for this show eventually is to get to a point where I go out and about and visit bears. I'd love to go and travel to bears and catalog the journey. Have somebody else with a nice video camera that can record the journey as we go. And I've actually looked at one, a video camera that is. Let's see here. I'm going to show you. Ooh, excuse me. Pardon myself. Let's see. Coffee was good today in my ugly mug, which is upstairs right now. But I would like to show you. Let's see here. YouTube. That's going to work. We'll do that. Yeah, do that thing. Maybe? No? Probably not. That's all right, though. I wanted to show you this video camera, which is actually kind of awesome. I think Zoom makes it. And it actually has audio inputs on it. Moomin might be interested in this. Moomin might dig it. It has audio inputs on it so that you could plug XLR mics and all that kind of, or XLR connections to hook mics and things like that up. Let's see, the Zoom, was it Q4? Some of you have heard of it. I've got the equivalent in terms of an audio recorder here. This little guy that I picked up a while back, and this thing allows me to do all kinds of audio recording on the fly in remote locations, which I love. But a good full digital video camera that has really good quality sound already built into it would be wildly awesome. And it doesn't look like the window capture wants to let me capture this window. I don't know what the deal is. So it might just be that it might just be that my internet's not my friend today. Hey, Colton Claybrook, welcome. I know I saw you in Andrew Bergen's stream the other day, and I know I've seen you around before because I'm subbed to your channel. I probably saw you in a Big Bear stream or something like that. So glad you could join us. Thanks for subbing the channel. I saw you did that, and I'm grateful. Legionary's up in here. Let's see. Andrew J is up in here, of course. Kodiak, welcome, sir. People are just sort of flowing in a little bit here. Field of Bears. You know, I would agree. Field of Bears, you do want to always test your windows before the stream, but you have to plan something in order to do that. And I wasn't planning on sharing anything with you, so you know, it's just not my friend right now. That's okay. We'll work without it. Are you sure you want to remove it? Yes, I am, because I've had that in there for a while. Maybe it's just stale. I don't know if that's a thing, but let's see. Window capture number 3. Hey, Coder, welcome. Coder's always a cool bear to have up in here. I'm always a fan. Let's see here. So I might actually make it work now. I think I got it. So here we go. Hey, there it's gonna go. All right, so check it. This is what I was talking about before. This is the Zoom camera that I'm excited about. It's pretty flippin' cool. One of these days, that's a goal for the show. Something like that. Possibly the next step up. There's the Q. This is the Q8, yeah, not the Q4. The Q8's way better, and it's got, I think it's got like 4 This only shows 2. I thought there were 4 XLR inputs. You can have a whole bunch of mics plugged into this thing. That's all I know. And it's got mics that you can attach on top and just get really good overall sound capture while you're doing your video stuff. So I guess it's 2 stereo channels. That's what it is. They're 2 stereo channels, so you can pan it and all that kind of jazz, which is good. I'm a fan. But having something like that when I'm going to go out and about and one of these days get to see bears in person on the road and make music with some bears in person on the road would be way cool. So I look forward to that. The days when such bears on the road can happen. I know it would be dangerous for me to be in HD, especially right now. I haven't showered yet, but that's because I'm going to go for a run later. So I kind of found that to be less than productive to do that already this morning. But since you can't smell me, it's probably okay. I would shower if I came out and did a shoot with you guys, with bears on the road. That, of course, would happen before you saw me, most likely. Last Moment says he bought a Rode smartphone mic. Nice for $70. That does sound good for 70. That's excellent. Let's see here. Smell-o-vision, yeah, that's a horrible idea. I'm glad nobody ever went anywhere with that. Let's see. Andrew took that to a whole different direction. Yeah, I'm not talking about showering with bears. No, thank you. Unless by bear you mean my wife, and in that case, I think that's a perfectly good idea. I think that's something I advocate for husbands and wives to do regularly. They should make sure that they shower. Save water, right? So let's see here. I wanted to take a gander over this away, and this is what I was working on, the setup where I stripped all the wrap finish off, and it's not looking half bad. Got the nice wood green finish all set up. I was showing it on Friday what I'd been doing, and I got it all finished with the bass drum. I still have that red striping around the hoops, but the hoops are like black metal. And one of these days, the hoops will probably be switched out for switched out for something like natural maple wood hoops or something like that. That'd be a little more resonant, a little better tone with the kit. Just a slight aspect. It's almost like a cosmetic thing, but not really, because the metal hoops do get a little rattly. There's some like bits of metal on the inside of them, and I haven't figured out how to remove that. But the wood hoops are just nicer. They sound better on the bass drum. But the top drums, they could use some hoop change at some point as well, to the what they call the die-cast hoops, and those sound awesome too. So I'm gonna play this out now, and you'll hear how resonant these guys are. They sound so much better. I won't be able to read your chats for a minute, but I'm gonna pop over here and just give you a little demonstration. Hang on one second. So, gotta move things around here. It's always fun. All right. Hopefully I don't blow out the mics too much, just one much. So, this is just my hi-hat and my ride, and not my ride cymbal. This is actually Scott's ride cymbal. But I do love it because it sounds awesome. And then I set it up in a weird way here. So I'm just playing around with some things today. Now this drum shouldn't sound like this. This floor tom over here, this big old 14-inch floor tom, should not sound like it sounds. It is amazingly deep and thunderous. And usually you get that out of a 16-inch or 18-inch diameter floor tom, not with a 14. So that's unbelievable. Here's the snare drum. Let's see here. Put my drum key aside. Right now, the bass drum is tuned nice and low, and I get so much thunderous boom out of it. I don't know how much of that comes through. I'll have to listen back on the video later, but I've got the heads tuned fairly low, and not having that plastic wrap finish. I think maybe it's just me. Maybe nobody else would notice the difference, but for me, it's just that little detail, that little bit of not stifling the shell so that it vibrates a little bit more freely. It's like probably the tiniest degree of change, but it's enough that I feel a difference, and the drum overall just feels more thunderous, more cannony, and it's a tiny little 20-inch bass drum. 20s are not the standard. A standard is something like, hang on, I got an example here. So this guy is a 22-inch, right? It's a big old 22-inch bass drum, and it's larger than what I'm using. It's a 14 inches deep, so it's more shallow, but it's wider diameter. And I'm trying to actually sell this for Scott, so he's not trying to keep it around anywhere. You can kind of see, let's see here. You can sort of see how this is a little bit taller. Well, and this one's got legs on it. Mine does. So it's hard to tell the height difference. But there you can kind of see it. Like normally would sit to be a couple inches higher. It's just a wider drum, bigger, deeper tone. So I like the little 20 because I can get so much out of it. That 20 just has so much intensity to it. It's crazy. And I've seen people do this with even 18-inch ones. Those are like the jazz bass drums, you know, even more compact. So, been playing around with this, been trying to get it sounding better, and I think I succeeded. I think it does dramatically sound better. But again, that's me. That's my perspective on it. Somebody else that maybe knows more or less, or who knows which, about drums might hear the difference between what it sounded like before and what it sounds like now. And they might totally disagree, and that's fine. It might just be my perspective on it, since I've been living with this set for, oh goodness, a year or so. And some of you know the story. Oh, you know what? I just lost my power cord. I don't want to do that because my laptop, it is fully charged, but it'll probably end up dying before I'm done, knowing how old batteries go. All right, so I'm back. Here we go. Let's actually talk to the people. That's a good thing to do. See, and this is another thing that I'd like to get away from. That's what I'm trying to say. At some point, have a nice camera thing going on here where, well, that's probably a connection issue where it doesn't lag as much as it does, because I can tell that it's probably kind of laggy. But to also get to a point where you have a nice, clear, clean image with good, high-quality sound. The sound's probably not terrible, but it could always be better. All right, so that's what I wanted to do. Okay. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Every inch matters. Good night. I won't hide you behind the drums on a journey. No, not so much. Let's see here. So, yeah, it's been fun. I got this in the church the other day, the movie theater where we have our services, and it was weird. I'd tuned it all up, but I'd only done it one drum at a time after I'd taken them apart and then put them back together, getting all the wrap stuff off. It didn't sound good when I first set it up. Oh, Kodiak, actually, I put the frame rate stuff on automatic. Like, I had it test my connection and figure out what was the optimal based on my connection speed. And it said, what I've got here is the best that I can do with the connection that I've got right now. So whatever you're getting is whatever I can give. That's kind of why I was saying I'm going to have better internet in the future. Hey, Liberty Snake, good to see you. I'm glad more people are up in here. So, yeah, excuse me. I got all this set up in the church the other day, and I was listening to everything as I was getting set up. And what I realized, I think I knew, but I hadn't thought about it that day, was in order to get everything to sound good, you have to tune it to itself, like within itself. You have to, I guess, play in the room is another part of that. Each room is going to be a little bit different, and you have to give the drums time to warm up. So, all of that together, you have to take all these different things into account, and then it just makes a big impact on it. It makes a big difference. Like in this room, it's totally different than it was at the church theater room where we were at. So I'll have to do some tweaks and different things for it to sound like really good in here, but also play it in here because I that's the first I played it today, and I just got it out of the cases this morning and had to get everything warmed up a little bit. That's essentially what you were hearing was the warming process. When the shells are warmer, they're going to sound better. Like the heads are going to resonate better in the drums. It just makes sense. Like when things are not cold, they're going to move more. They're going to resonate better. And that's the whole way that a drum works. So as I warmed them up, the tone of everything got nicer, and it worked with each other. Like I found there was one drum in there, one of my tom-toms, I had to adjust several times because when I'd hit it, it'd hit this one frequency where it'd ring out and it would overload the microphone a little bit. It'd just really peak the mic at that frequency. And it wasn't pretty. It didn't sound right. Almost garbage canning. So I had to bring it down just a little bit more. When I found that spot where it was perfect, just brought down right, I had to tweak the bottom head and the top head just to get it at that spot. And the floor tom, it always sounds good. But in a bigger room, you've got to have it just right too, because you want that low, deep thump out of your floor tom, but you want it to resound. You want it to have a little bit of sustain. You don't want it to go boom and just cut off instantly. Like, that's not really the sound I was looking for. I wanted just a little bit of resonation afterward. So I had to tweak that a little bit to get a little bit more of that and not make it sound like tinny and obnoxious. The snare drum, that's probably one of the weirdest animals for me, is that guy. You really have to work with at least 3 different things. You have to work with the top head to get that both to where the tone is good and where it feels responsive enough that you can execute a lot of the different things you're trying to play. If you leave it super duper loose, you've got to have like amazing chops, amazing like hands, fingers, all of that has to be like it's top of its game, which I'm not. You know, I work to be better and better, you know, as often as I am able. Probably not as much as I could. In fact, definitely not as much as I could. But I am working to get better at things like that. And just no matter what surface I'm playing on, I could execute any movement I want to at any speed. And still, there's going to be limitation within that. No matter what you do, there's going to be some degree of limitation in what you're able to execute. If you have a drum that's tuned way, 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 way floppy, right, it won't rebound the stick. You won't be able to get to certain speeds with different techniques that you're trying to execute. And I want my snare to not be a fight throughout the time I'm playing. I want everything to... you want to make your gear user-friendly. You want to make it work for you, not against you. Make your drum set your ally was something that drummer Billy Ward used to say quite a bit. He probably still does. And I think that's true not just in terms of how you set it up, right? You want to set it up in a way that makes it easy for you to move around the kit, but also in the way you tune it. Make it where the response you get off of the drums, it not only bounces back so that you can get back to the next hit you want to do, but you want it to sound good. You want it to inspire you with the tone. I think that's a higher priority, honestly, is the tone that you get out of it is more important than the bounciness. And then, of course, you adapt to that to some degree. Because the floor toms, those you get pretty deep and low, and they're not going to have the same rebound as a snare drum. And they're not necessarily intended to. But you got to really dig in to get... You got to have some more strength in your hands to get that out of those drums. But you want it enough where it's not ridiculous, right? Where the head's just like, you hit it, it feels like you're hitting a pillow, like, right? The stick just melts into the head. That's not good. So you want it to bounce back at you. You want it to spit the stick back at you a little bit. And the snare drum, definitely. So then I have to work with the top head. I have to work with the bottom and make sure that's nice and tight, right? So the snare wires underneath it bounce and give really good responsiveness whenever I hit. You get a nice wash of snare tone, but not too much, right? You want it to decay appropriately. Now, I have a dial on the side of my snare that allows me to increase or decrease the amount of tension in the wires on the bottom of the snare. And I put those in a funny spot. Depending on the song, I might change it. With some songs, hey, Broham Bear, that's J-Ran up in the house. What's up, man? I tighten those wires depending on the song. Sometimes the song calls for something a little more snappy, a little more quick, you know, quick decay of the snare sound. Sound. There we go. Other songs, I want it to wash a little bit. I want there to be some after effects. So I'll hit it, and there's maybe a second or two before it decays. You know, you want that sound there. I don't know if anybody on here ever used to listen to a radio program called the Rush Limbaugh program. My grandfather listened to that almost every day. My dad's dad. He was a huge, dedicated fan of the Rush Limbaugh show. And so I grew up hearing that a lot. My dad even used to listen to it in the car from time to time. And then I would, when I was working security for years for our local base, I did... I would put that on sometimes in the drives to or from, or whenever it happened to be on. There might be reruns on at certain times on some radio stations, so I'd catch that. But that theme song that he had on that show, the snare on there had this reverb where it was like, always that. So sometimes I want a little bit of that. Now, obviously, I'm going to have like a delay effect or an echo effect on there to get the sound. But mega dittos. I get that. I know what you're talking about. Took me years to actually know what they were talking about, because I came into the when I started listening to any of that, it was long after that was ever spoken. You know, like people would say it and I didn't know what it was. And then one day he finally did an explanation of what that was about. It was just like a shortened form of people telling him how appreciative they were of what he does. You know, he's all about the efficiency and getting moving. You know, and I appreciate that. Hang on, I gotta unplug the headphones for a moment. Something's tangled up here. You can still hear me, but I can't hear. Well, I can't hear you anyways. I can't hear me. That's when it's important, right? So that sound, that little bit of an effect, you know, afterwards. I'm not going to get that same thing, but I'm going to have a little bit more of a wash of the wires that resounds for half second to a second afterward when I loosen them just right. So between the top head, bottom head, and the wires, I've got all these different things to mess with on that snare. And it's just, I can always dial it in right where I need it for any situation, any room. It's such a good workhorse. You know, I get a lot out of that drum. Let's see here. Yeah, the cymbals, you pretty much just set them on stands and play them, and they always sound awesome. I do notice a difference if they're a little more cold. You know, the sound's obviously a little drier. If they're warm, it just like breaths right into the music. Breaths. Yeah, we're picking out all kinds of unique forms of words today, that putting them in the places where they don't belong. It's making me think of that Brian Regan comedy bit. Once again, I was listening to Brian Regan with the kids this week, and so that's fresh in the mind. But he's like, yeah, you ever use a phrase like at the wrong time? You know, like you use it, but it's obviously not an appropriate place to use that phrase. Like you be at the airport, like, yeah, have a good flight. You too. Like, but no, well, see, I totally told that wrong, because he's getting out of the cab, right? And the cab driver says, have a good flight. You too. And he's like, whenever you fly someday, right? It's so ridiculous. That waitress brings you your dinner. It's like, have a nice meal, folks. And you do. I'm a fan of that. Hey, Controversy Bear, good to see you. I'm a fan of that bit because I do that all the time. Like, as soon as he said that, I'm like, yes, 100% connect with that, because not only do I say it with not only do I do that thing, that concept frequently, but with that specific phrase, you too. Many times I've done that. It's just so funny. And I feel a little bit less alone, and I can laugh at myself and others. But I'm having a lot of words that are in the wrong place or the wrong form today. It's kind of funny to me. So, yeah, little tour of the drumming. Hope that was fun for some people. I need to do more of it on this show, because it is Big Drum Bear, and that's what we're about here. In case you can't hear that, I think you can. Gita is upstairs. I think she got fed, and she's in the bedroom, and she wants to be let out. And my wife will do that in short order here. But, yeah, she what's that?
They're playing.
Oh, I thought that was her in the bedroom.
Oh, no, they went out, and now they're wrestling.
Oh, okay. So I was wrong. She confirmed. She corrected me. They went out to play after they'd eaten, and now they're wrestling around in the living room. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, did you tick the bell icon, Andrew Bergen? If you don't have the bell icon ticked, you won't get the notification. And even if you do, you probably won't get the notification. I'm a part of the Unbearables community. Therefore, it's quite possible that I'll get some shadow banning. I'm already over 150 subscribers. Thank you, by the way, to everybody who's done that and spread this show and shared it. I'm super grateful. I'm kind of having to... Oh, Andrew. Yeah, I'll do that. It wasn't my idea, by the way. So Andrew J wants me to tell you, beautiful lady bear, that yes. What did I say? I said one of these days it would be a dream of mine to go around and meet up with other bears,
Yes.
and interview them face to face, and also make some music with bears out and about. And I'd love to have this cool video camera one day to go do that with. Well, I said, I wanted to get right to the show here today, and I haven't showered yet because I'm going to go for a run later. But I promise, if I ever come out and interview bears, I'll shower first. And then somebody interpreted that to mean like you're going to shower with bears. Is that what you're planning?
Probably not so much.
And I said, no, just one bear. That was my idea. Maybe that's what he's talking about, Andrew Jamie. I said, I will shower with one bear and one barrel only. And I think that, beautiful lady bear in her pink bunny pajamas.
He only showers with me.
That's right. That's a good thing. It's important.
Yep. Pink bunny pajamas and all.
She's on board with this husbands and wives showering idea. It's a good thing.
You see the footy pajamas?
Yes, she's all, and that's impressive that she can stick her foot out like that too and not fall. Got to give her props.
Ow. I need to go take some ibuprofen.
she's gonna get the NSAID. Oh man. Yeah, we're getting to that place in our life. She's 28 years young, so she doesn't have to worry about it that much. But oh my goodness, am I coming to the UK, dude? I would love to visit. Just so we're clear, we need to get you out of there one of these days. It's getting insane. It's been insane for a while, but. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, Andrew Bergen, good recommendation about the snark tuners. Those are classic. Snark tuners are so important. Was that Chunk? Chunk has, like, one of the deepest barks sometimes. When he'll see something outside or somebody walking by outside. There's other times where he and I will be talking with each other, right? Like, I'll talk to Chunk, I'll be like, I'll get my... I've done it on here before. And I'll get him all howling. I love you, Chunk. And he'll do that high-pitched voice for this 90-pound behemoth, right? But then I remember the first time he did it, he had this big, deep growl bark, that was a commensurate with his size. And he scared himself. He was still a puppy, like a small puppy at that time, and he did it. He shook when he did it. Like, what was that? Where did that come from? Glamping, good to see you. Glad you could join us. Oh, goodness. We were talking about drums a little bit here. I was talking about drums, mostly. Some of you guys were. I didn't see Controversy Bear's question until now. Tuning equipment, yeah. Andrew's absolutely right. The Snark Tuner's the way to go. Those are great. Or you can get one on your phone. I have an app here called Guitar Tuna. Now, it's not going to be as effective as, say, a Snark since it's right on the headstock of your guitar. But this thing, Guitar Tuna, I highly recommend. It's free on iPhone. And you can go right in there. Oh, am I not volumed up? There we go. Yeah. Do that again. Come on. Hey. Well, my phone's a little slow this morning. There we go. Oh, I'm just not hitting the right place. That's why. Well, when you're doing like this, it's going to do that. So you can switch to different strings. That's the only thing. You have to switch to the appropriate next string before you tune it, right? Because if you start switching over, it doesn't automatically switch to whatever string you're trying to tune. You have to tell it, I'm on the E string right now. So in some ways that's good, but it's also a pain in the tush. Like, sometimes I want it to automatically switch. The Snark should automatically switch, so that's why it's kind of better. Very happy. Glad you could join us. That's so awesome. It's great to see some good bears in here. I was about to say, before Beautiful Lady Bear came down, I was going to say something about this show. I stepped away for like almost 2 weeks. I got so busy doing stuff at the airbase, doing some duty out there, that I've really just had to back off doing some shows. And not that I plan on that consistently. I plan on still being here every morning. In fact, might have some more freedom than usual. I might have to start a little earlier, so some of you that are further away, in the time zones that are further to the west, might just have to catch the replays. But what am I thinking now? am definitely going to continue to be doing this show on a daily weekday basis. That's the goal. But I've noticed that live stream viewership had to drop off a little bit, mostly because it's a combination of the fact that I walked away for, almost 2 weeks. Texas Rose is up in here. Man, we got all kinds of great folks coming in. That's excellent. Love it. Happy Monday to you too, Texas Rose. Yeah, I stepped away for a while, so the consistency of viewership that's expecting me to do a show has sort of dwindled a little bit since then, so I'm going to rebuild. But we've got 150 plus subscribers now, so I think that's entirely possible. I mean, I had a show coming back, doing a show for the first time in a week or more, and I had like close to 30 people in there. It was crazy, 22 or 3. I don't know, it was getting higher and higher. And it was blowing my mind. I'm like, wow, I don't even know what to say. I'm so grateful when I see people come and join the show. And it drives me to want to give you better content, maybe content where I shower more often before I do the show. Get up early enough to go out and run before I should do the show. Of course, I may have to at some point before we finish up here. Hey, brain loyalty, that's what's up. Thanks, brother. So, well, and that's another part of this. I was going to say before we finish the show, I might have to take you out and show you how white it is around here. Yeah, it's pretty racist outside. But hopefully we can fix that. Hopefully we can get Mother Nature to actually rain brown or black snow. That would be socially just. That would be appropriate. I think until we find a way to blacken the precipitation that we have in this country and worldwide, in fact, we won't have a truly diverse world. We're going to constantly have snow privilege, and I'm just not going to be able to rest until I see that. Andrew says that there's going to be an Asian invasion in the snow, so hopefully that won't be in any snow that you're going to consume, but it may be coming. That's awesome. Oh my goodness, that's fun. 80 yesterday, man. My folks are going to be so happy to get back to the house. I'm telling you. They've been up here hanging out for the last couple weeks, and I think they've still got yet another week or so to be in the area because one of my cousins, Josiah, he's going to be getting married this weekend. He is officially going to be tying the knot with his lady Alexa. I'm sorry. It is Alexa. And he will finally, it's how would I put this? It's going to be a very good relationship, because he can just talk to her through his phone and she'll tell him whatever he wants to hear. So, it works out. Unless of course he asks, who is the Lord Jesus Christ? And then she might be given to saying, that is a fictional character or something like that. But no, I think that's been reprogrammed. I think that's not a problem for her anymore. I'm kidding, guys. No, her name is actually Alexa, but she's a wonderful person. She's very kind. I think she's I can't remember if she's a nurse or if she's some kind of medical position. I know that, and I know he's got a video on his YouTube channel. Josiah does it when he went and proposed to her, and he surprised her while she was at work, and she was all in scrubs and everything. So, and he had to get suited up as well to be able to go in where she was at. So that's why it was kind of funny, pretty surprising. But Josiah's a really good man. I'm proud to know him. Proud to have him as a cousin. He's a hardworking guy. I think he has been working for ADM. And he's extremely knowledgeable in agricultural matters. His dad, my Uncle Alan, has had a farm. He's operated successfully for many, many years. And they don't. It's not always perfect, but shoot, I think they've got around like 1,500 acres or something that they're working. I mean, I don't even know. That's my guess. I don't really actually know how much they farm, but they're the epitome of entrepreneurs in a lot of ways. They're trying to do the best they can, make it work. It's a lot of service-based stuff, but Like, they have to put in their time and efforts, but it takes an awful lot of planning. It takes a lot. I mean, when I was living down near there a few years back, I remember my uncle would be getting in, and this was typical. He'd be getting in at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and they'd finally have some dinner because, you know, he'd be out in the fields as late as he could, you know, working on whatever he needed to work on, get a fence repaired somewhere to make sure the cows were taken well care of, because they keep beef cattle and show cattle on hand regularly. That's one area where they've worked in pretty consistently over the years. They've raised hogs for a long time, off and on. I don't recall any other livestock. Chickens, I think, at some points in the past they've done. But corn and soybeans, that's been the majority of their crops for a long time, and they're really good at it. They're really decent. They've been pretty consistently having a good farming operation for decades. They managed to stay in it, and they're still afloat. So my aunt and uncle raised up 6 children, 4 daughters and 2 sons, and I bonded quite a bit with Eli. Elias is my other cousin. He's the 5th of 6 kids, and Josiah is the 6th. So Eli was my best man at my wedding, and he's top notch dude. And of course, Josiah was Eli's best man. This was before, you know, Dawn and I had gotten married, but they're just really cool people. They're good, hardworking, strong dudes, and they inspire me. They're younger than me, and they inspire me to be a better man in my ever aging age. Good people. So yeah, we're gonna go celebrate Josiah finally joining the ranks of us married men. It's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So we spent a lot of time down there. That's what I wanted to get to. We spent a lot of time this past weekend. I think Friday night, Dawn and I went down to Emden, and we saw all this family down there. My folks are here, my aunt and uncle, a bunch of my cousins, and I'm trying to think now. We had this huge meal that we had Friday night, and it wasn't your typical Thanksgiving style meal. It was brisket and glazed carrots, and we're talking like the whole carrot practically. I made a green bean casserole, which I was quite proud of. I found some cream of mushroom soup and a whole bunch of green beans, some of them frozen in the fridge, still fresh from their farm that they'd given us a while back, but mixed that with some Del Monte French cut. And let's see, what else did I add to that? The crispy French onion stuff that you buy. And I got some good kind of that to top it with. But I added one other special ingredient that made it very interesting. A little bit of cinnamon over the top. I put a little too much on one end, so I brushed it in over the top of the green beans and cream of mushroom. And I put all of that in for about 20 minutes, took it out, added the last bits of the crispy French onion things on top, and did 5 more minutes. And that sucker was hot. I covered it with tin foil, set it on the stovetop, and then went and taught Kiki's son his drum lesson. And then we left about an hour later. And then it took us another 45 minutes to get down to Emden. And that thing was still warm. Still warm. It's crazy how long that thing stayed nice and warm. So good. But that, and there was some very good, what was it? My uncle had a bit of a sip for me to try. I can't remember the name of it, but it wasn't bad. It had a good, smooth flavor to it. It was, let's see. Yeah, I can't think of the name. It was, I think it was a type of whiskey, but it was just a sip. It was interesting. And they had, oh goodness, some sort of beans recipe that my aunt had created. There was a cheesy potato casserole that somebody had made. All of it was ridiculous. And I try not to have copious amounts of everything. I do actually want to lose some degree of weight between now and, I don't know, January 1st. I just heard on the radio this morning, some radio personality locally around here was sharing an article that had been put out. A study had been done that the vast majority of Americans had given up any ideas about between now and the end of the year losing any weight. They're going to just put it off until January 1st. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. Not in that boat. I need to lose at least a good 5 pounds between now, maybe 7 if I could do it. ASAP. I need to drop that yesterday. And so I need to get very aggressive about that in the next several weeks here. But I need to go and successfully knock out this physical fitness test and get that squared away for another year. And that's going to be a significant part of it. The more inches I can melt away, the better off I'll be. But I just, I have an overall goal of dropping at least a good 20. I think if I could get down to 210, that'd probably be a good place to be. If I can get lower than 210, that's also good. Maybe 200 is good. Drums is good cardio, and I haven't been doing near enough of it. Clark Kent's here. What's up, man? Laxatives. Well, what I have found is that beer can act as a good diuretic, and I only have like 2 at a time when I have, and that's not very frequent. But, of course, that was readily offered during the holiday weekend here. So I noticed that the next day I was doing mighty fine in terms of weight loss. Like I'd given back a couple pounds. Let's just put it that way. And I was happy about that. But I figure I'd probably do even better if there wasn't any beer in the diet for the next month, or any other kinds of beverages like that. It's just all water, Bulimia works. I'm gonna not do that. I've seen a lot of heavyset people with bulimia. I've seen that not work well. The anorexics, they get in trouble. They get very much in trouble. But the bulimia, I don't usually see working successfully unless you're Callista Flockhart, and then it's different. I actually, I remember when I was in high school, and we had to watch a film about eating disorders in health class, and it was starring Callista Flockhart, of all people, who we all joked about as like a rail, needs to eat cheeseburgers or something. Like, what's her name? Used to be on that Sabrina the Teenage Witch show before they not the current like satanic evil dark one, but the one that was silly goofball. They had Penn and Teller on from time to time, or at least Penn. And why can't I think of her name? Caroline Ray. Caroline Ray was one of the aunts on there. She was on Conan O'Brien years ago talking about things. It was like New Year's Eve or something like that, and she was out there being a goofball. And I think she made this joke, or she was in some islands somewhere taking a vacation, and some British person walked up to me. Are you the lady who plays Aunt Hilda on Sabrina? So we thought you were, but I thought not. My friends thought you were, but I thought, no, that woman is very heavy and fat, and you're just regular size. Right? I was like, well, there's a compliment, right? I was like, so she's like, does the camera add like 10 pounds, And she's like, actually, yeah. In fact, Callista Flockhart doesn't even exist off camera. She's just a gas. She's an air. And I thought that was pretty silly and true, in a lot of ways. But then I watched this movie, about this person who's already ridiculously thin, maybe probably has dealt with eating disorder problems in her past. And from then on, that movie was known as not Ally McBeal, but Ally McBarf. That's what we referred to it as. That was one of our favorites. So I'm going to not Ally McBarf my way to being thinner. That's probably a bad idea. I won't encourage that. And by the way, if anyone's curious here, I am not an advocate of eating disorders. I think it's a bad thing for you. I think it's a horrible thing. I've known people, I've got family, just not immediate, that has struggled with those kinds of things. It's body dysmorphia, all that kind of stuff is not a fun thing. Old lady compliments, yeah, backhanded. So, hey, kitten. Oh, she doesn't want to be in the show today. I was thinking about having Chunk be on the show today. I thought he could use a little, how you doing? So he might come down here before we're all done, but yeah, it was an intense weekend of food, like Saturday as well, with all my kids went down for my, I guess my second cousin. It's my dad's cousin, Vernon, and his wife, Sandy, had their 50th wedding anniversary, and there was just massive amounts of food, meatballs and chips and cake and other dessert type things, crackers and vegetable trays with, heapings of ranch dressing, all that kind of stuff. So that was nice, but I kept that modest. I was able to keep the eating there quite reserved. And then my folks and I, we took the kids out for dinner later, and we went to Firehouse Pizza, and even there I kept it low. I'm not a fan of eating the pork, and I used to be. I'd munch down a bacon or what is it, Canadian bacon pizza in no time flat. That was one of my favorites, or pepperoni, of course. But these days I kind of abstain. I'm just not a fan. My body doesn't do too well with it. And some of you know, I have my own beliefs on that kind of a thing from a biblical standpoint. So I'm clearly judging everybody else who eats pork. That's what I'm saying. No, I don't, in case you're curious. Hey, Keto, what's up, man? Oh, it tastes great. Don't get me wrong. It tastes fantastic. But since it's been so many years, I think there may be a couple of times where accidentally I did, and I was not well. I was ill from it. I didn't know pork was in something. So I figured we'd ordered pizza there, and we got like a chicken one and then a cheeseburger one. I thought it'd be great, right? I thought it's gonna be beef, as the meat on there. That'll work. No. It was a bacon cheeseburger, but they didn't say that in the menu. They just said cheeseburger. So that was actually a built-in diet plan for me. I was like, that's fine. I'll stick to the chicken. I'm good. I didn't need much. Everybody else devoured the rest of that. I was like, okay, you rock on. Do your thing. I'm going to pass. It's not against my Muslim religion. They're the first ones that always get hit with that. Like, wait a minute. Wait, haven't the Jews been like the staple of not eating pork for centuries? And somehow that's the joke that always comes up. It cracks me up. It's like, Muslims. Well, no. It's a lot of Middle Eastern peoples, actually, that don't find it to be a food source. And that's their thing. Do what you do. It's so funny because I see more and more and more like love of the bacon these days. And I'm like, I remember those days. I remember that. Funny thing about Arabs and pork, they get insulin from pigs, so they have secret pig farms in Saudi. If the locals knew about it, they won't take their diabetes meds. Wow. Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Blame the Juden. Hello, snack bar. That's right. They don't. It's very true. They're the kinder, gentler non-pork eating peoples, and I'm a fan of that. Rock on with your kinder, gentler non-pork eatingness. Oh my goodness, these conversations go interesting places. I gotta love this stuff. So good. So yeah, more food was had. It was just a ton of that. But I kept saying we need to go outside. We need to get out of the house, go do things, right, other than sit and eat. And so I got the kids outside. We're playing in the yard at Vernon and Sandy's place, and they were having a blast. And then after we left there, we went to this park in Delavan, Illinois. And it's really cool because there's like a stream that runs through the park. And there's a bunch of these little footbridges all running throughout all these different places, and a big pond that's there too. It's an interesting park. Got playground equipment, of course, but then a running path that runs through. I used to take the kids there quite a bit when we lived nearer to that area. And there's this old bridge that was erected in 1897. So we're talking 121-year-old bridge with original stones still in place, all that stuff. And they built the walking path to go over that. And it's a good, 10 feet above the water. Steve's here. What's happening, man? Good to see this Steve Pinder in the house. By the way, if you don't already have one, be sure to get yourself an ugly mug. You want a Steve Pinder's ugly mug to complete your mug collection. In fact, no, throw out all other mugs and just have a Steve Pinder's ugly mug. I wish I'd thought about it at the time. When I bought the Steve Pinder ugly mug, all I got was the small size. And I'm thinking to myself, this is kind of ridiculous. I drink way more coffee than this. But all that I have to do is just refill it. That's the deal. So it's good that I got the small one because it forces me to drink coffee in smaller portions. Yeah. I mean, you feel happy about yourself when you drink out of Steve's mug. It's better than Prozac. It will lift your mood because you'll realize you're not as unpleasant to look at as you thought. There's people far, far more haggard out there. People that really ought to secret themselves away in attics and journal about their experiences. Maybe write some dirty jokes on hidden pages, Uden, who previously did not eat pork, or maybe he did. No, he's always eaten pork because he's a Christian Uden, So we were just talking about pork things a little bit. Just happened to. I was having dinner with my folks and my kids at a Firehouse Pizza Kitchen, Steve. This was just Saturday night, and we ordered a chicken Alfredo pizza, and I thought, how about a cheeseburger pizza? That'll be perfect. Unbeknownst to me, that was not all beef. It was like layered with bacon. I'm sure you would have loved it. I can't eat it. Like, I feel absolutely sick trying to stomach any pork down, so I just don't. And I have my other reasons. So, yeah, everybody else munched down. I'm like, I'll just stick to the chicken. I'm good. But, yeah, I didn't see that coming. It wasn't in the menu written as, like, this is bacon laden. Like, you should just assume you're in America. And they're right. They're right. You should just assume. It's America, right? You have to outthink the bacon if you want to try to eat kosher to some degree. When I say kosher, I mean biblically kosher, not rabbinical kosher. That's a very different thing. Like, I'm not like Ben Shapiro where I think I can't have a cheeseburger, right? That's why I ordered the said cheeseburger pizza. Cheese and meat together are okay with me. The idea that you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk is highly rooted to a practice done by various different pagan religions where they would actually boil a child goat in the milk of its mother and get involved in some idol worship. Various different faiths that did that. So for rabbis to further extend that, and I'm sure there's some other texts that accompany that, but I suspect that's one of the few, that we should abstain from both milk and meat simultaneously. Galatians can ruin that. Until you take it, I would say there's a great study. Steve, I'll just send you the links on this, and maybe you've already dug into stuff like this before too. But it's a great study on Galatians by a guy named Rico Cortez, and he digs into a lot of the cultural background of what was going on, why Paul had to write that letter, and when I was understanding some of the other issues that were going on at that time, that really was enlightening to me in a way that just made me go, "Wow, God's bigger than I thought He was." I always love. Yeah, of course, and I'm not trying to get into a debate right now. No, you're totally bad. You're totally bad, Steve. That's right. I'm just thinking it's a great study. It's a great thing. I love the books. I love all those biblical books and reading them from the perspective of the people who were chosen to pen them down in the first place. And it's difficult to do because we don't live in an agricultural society these days. And that's one of the reasons why I love going down to see my extended family out in the farm country. is because then I'm back into agricultural stuff, right? Where you're seeing things grow. You're seeing the life cycle. You've got to raise animals up, and they got to be killed and eaten at times, and that's difficult. That's a rough thing. So it's also not rough once you've done it enough. I mean, you know where your food's coming from. You know what it costs for you to continue to live every day. You know what life is worth, and I think when you have connection to that, that's useful. I said it multiple times over the weekend. Like, I miss being down here so much. When you go down, even in Illinois, which is a bunch of flat land, let's be honest, there's a lot of not flat land, and you have to be here to know that. Like, there's all these nooks and crannies throughout Illinois where you've got amazing terrain, unbelievable terrain out here. But Illinois is often known as being flat land, and compared to Colorado or California, it is. But it's awesome. So, especially out in Logan County, you come from, let's say, where am I thinking? Let's say you're coming from Tazewell County, which is just to the north a bit, and you come up over this rise. You're going down Highway 155 and you're Interstate 155. You're heading down south, and you get past the exit for Delavan, and you go a little further on, and this valley widens out in front of you, this huge view. And I think back to what my triple great grandpa Heindirk Bunger Rademacher would have seen when he was out here, when he moved here from Germany years ago, late 1880s or early 1880s actually. And you have this expansive, wide open view that you can see around it for miles and miles. It's just unbelievable. There's more auspicious views out there, but this is still pretty incredible. These fields everywhere, little houses, sporadically placed in different areas. You can see from one town to the next. Like, if I'm in one small town where my family's from, you can see over to the next little small town about 6-7 miles away, and you can look over to the east, and there's another little small town out that way. To the west, there's another little small town that way, and you can see those things from where you're at, and when you're up on that high rise coming down into the valley, you can see all of them from that one point, and it's so cool. It's just so cool to do. So I don't know, being out there surrounded by growing things, surrounded by people who are very connected to what keeps them alive day to day, that's awesome to me. I love that, and there's a part of me that's always desiring to get back to some of that, or to at least bring it around here, bring it into where I live, in this area. I need more growing stuff, and especially in winter. It's like it's cold, and people get seasonal depressive things. I don't typically, but I know how to avoid things like that. I know how to keep my thoughts optimistic and focused on doing important stuff. So I don't know, it's just interesting to me. I always love being down there. It's so neat. And those Hebrew people were definitely people that were very connected to the fact that in order to keep living, you gotta grow stuff. You gotta have aminals around, and it's neat stuff. It's cool. At any rate, so we're gonna be doing some more music this week. We're gonna be doing some more drumming. I think that has to happen. I want you guys to get into some more big drum bear drumming and share some more of the concepts that I've had. I might even start sharing little bits of story that I'm starting to write about this character that is going to be the focus of a novel I'm finally going to start writing. Maybe I'll just write it by telling little bits of story, little parts of the story, and then finally weave those different things together to get the whole novel mapped out. But I've wanted to do this for some time, where I have an instruction book that's a novel. It's a narrative. And there's a guy that I talked about, Billy Ward, one of my favorite drummers, did something similar. He had an instruction book. It was called, Inside Out. It was talking about a lot of the mental aspects of drumming. So it was much more him talking about anecdotes and scenarios and things like that in his career. And I want to take that a step further and make it a historical fiction. that incorporates different parts of the fundamentals of drumming. Yes, Texas Rose, I am. I've been busy working at the local Air Guard base, doing some extra days out there, and so that's cut my schedule in the mornings, and I've been way too busy in the evenings to get something, consistent. Plus, I don't want to step on a bunch of other people who have evening shows. So, yeah, I'm going out to the base this week. I will have a couple days at the end of this week where I do have to go, but Monday through Wednesday, I'm showing this week, and then in December we'll be back to it. We'll be back to the regular schedule. Occasionally, obviously, we're going to have interruptions to that, but I'll do what I can where I can. But largely, you're going to go back to the 9:30 time frame. I'm going to gradually have to push that back probably to 8 or 8:30 as time goes on, and limit myself to about an hour or hour 15. But yeah, gotta get that rocking. You're absolutely right. So there'll be drumming, and there'll be thoughts about this novel, possibly a character from Civil War days, and who knows, we might even link the story into modern times somehow. I might even reach back into the late 1400s and talk about an old Bohemian general named Jan Žižka, a guy who was a Hussite, or he fought for the Hussites at least, against, I guess, the Catholic church that was raging in that area at the time. It was, I guess, officials of it in that region that were militaristic against some of the people, and not in a nice way. But this guy, Jan Žižka, still regarded as one of the most noted military leaders of his time. Did a lot with a little. And there's a legend about him. It's apparently a historical record that his dying request, it says a little gruesome. I've said it before, I'll mention it again. His dying request was he wanted to always be able to lead his troops in battle. He really had almost like a fatherly connection with these people. In fact, they called themselves orphans, I believe it was, after he died. They called themselves the Orphans of Žižka, because he had that kind of sway with them. But he wanted forever to continue to lead his people. So his dying request was that they would flay his skin off after his death and use it, dry it out and use it as drum heads for the drums. He wanted the drums to be skinned with human skin. It's gruesome, it's kind of grody, but it's kind of cool. It was also a psychological warfare tactic. The enemy would know that was his dying request, and when they came to battle, you'd still be fighting or facing Žižka in the sound of the drums as that army approached. Think about that. Think about what you'd feel like as someone on the enemy side hearing that sound coming. Yeah. He gets an A+ in badassery. That's super cool. It grosses some people out, but we're all bears here. I think we've heard our share of gross stuff. Yeah, right? Oh, excuse my nose, man. Gotta go run. Get this junk out of my system. Oh, so I think we might have a guest host, just briefly. I'm going to check on and see if that guest host is available. He wants to pop in and say a few words. Guest host, hang on a second. Chunk only. Chunk. No, Chunk. Come here, bud. No, Chunk's turn. Come here, bud. Chunk. You just stay. Chunk. Good boy. Come here. Come here, buddy. Come here, bud. Up here, right here. Ready? Hop up. Up. Come on, Chunk. Right here. Come here, buddy. Oh, Chunk. Oh, good boy. Sit. That's not gonna work. Hang on, man. You're gonna have to sit with me and guest host. Oh man, Pound Mastiff Rottweilers. Not a feathery thing do they make. You want to say hi to the people? Because we can let you say hi. Just for a minute. Tilted down. Oh, he's a big boy. I couldn't get him to sit like a human to save my life. That chair just rolls all over the place. Right, Chunk? You know what it's about, right? So you want to say hi?
Hey, my name is Chunk, and I just had to say hi to the bears. Thanks to you, those of you who bought my shirt. And if you didn't get your shirt yet, we'll probably help you get one sometime. Maybe I could make a sticker, and maybe you would like it, and you could help my dad and have a show. I would like to remind people that I am not Hopper, but I think he's pretty cool. I'd like to meet him someday. Well, I've been busy. I've been okay. I had to go down to where did I go? To see the son of my old friend Fidel. Down into Cuba. Had to go see how the revolution was going. Not so good. It's been kind of boring. It makes me want to fall asleep. You know, I'm not a fan of the communists anymore. I tried it for a season, but now I like the capitalism and selling the shirts and maybe a stick or two. So I've had this terrible skin rash. It's been pretty rough on my neck, as you see. Two problems. One, it's cold outside, and my skin is not so, how would you say, tough. Yeah, as big as I am, I'm kind of a softie. I need moisturizer, you know. But my sister, my little sister, she's actually my big sister, the oldest, the Gerby. She likes to wrestle, especially in the snow wrestles. And she puts her nibbles and scratches on my neck. It's not what you would call fun. I'm not a fan. I'm not at all. But, yeah, it's getting better. Mom put some stuff up. Yeah, it's difficult. It tires me out. It's a bother, I tell you. When you've got to live with 2 female dogs, it can be kind of rough. And I realize that's the most overused dog pun of all time, but it's almost unavoidable. It's just one of those things I can't get away from. But I miss being with you guys. I miss being on the show. It's fun. I gotta go right. I'm pretty tired. This is kind of uncomfortable, Dad. I'm really not so happy that you put me like this. I need to move. Oh, I love you. I love you, buddy.
He's a good boy. He's a good dog. Yeah. Excuse me. He's going to get out and do some more therapy work soon, I think. Here, you going to pop down? There you go.
Like, thanks, Dad. That's better.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Doesn't get old having Chunk by, but he, excuse me. He is definitely not digging this cold weather. Yeah, he likes playing in the snow. He was so funny this morning. As soon as it downpoured with snow over the night, he was out there first thing this morning and just bounding full speed all over the place outside. He loved it. Let me ask you a question. Do you need to go again? Do you need to do some more snow running? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to go outside? You want me to help you guys go out? I'll tell you what. I'll finish up the show, and I'll let you guys out. How about that? I think I will. I'll go let the dogs get some exercise. I'm going to get some exercise. And tomorrow, we're going to look at some other drum-related activities. We're going to look at some ways that if you're interested in getting into drums, what you can do to get started, things you could be working on. If you've been drumming or making music for a while, let's say that's probably a good place to go. If you're another type of instrumentalist, because I know we have a few people that play guitar. I know Andrew's a trumpeter, Andrew Bergen. If you want to be able to use drumming better, and you're not a drummer, like it's not your main thing, what kind of stuff can be your go-to thing to get drums into music that you would want to write? How would you start that out? So we'll kind of talk about that. And then if you want to bring a real drummer into your project, how can you go from, say, programmed loops and stuff like that to the real thing, maybe combine them, all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that sort of thing. Might be a good topic. Right, Chunk? Chunk agrees, right? Chunk's for it. At least he seems to be. So until tomorrow, I think everybody should do what you can to engage your mind and your body, which I'm getting ready to go do, and of course your heart, and seek to serve the ultimate purpose. That's why don't eat pork. No. It's just teasing you guys. But I mean, have a good day, everybody. Love you. Peace.